It's your boy!
Hey guys, it's Ashley here, and I'm back doing another video from my first aid class. For this video, I'm going to show you how to splint a fracture, how to use a sling to secure it to your body, and then also swathe it to make sure that the sling doesn't move around. For this video, my patient is my brother Joseph.
Yo.
And we're going to go ahead and get started. First thing is the splint of a fracture. You need to look at the fracture. This one's in the forearm, and it's in the center of the forearm. So we're going to use this splint, which is a magazine, and put it underneath on either sides of the fracture. You can use a magazine. You can also use a pillow for a soft fracture, or you can use something harder like a board. I like to use a magazine because it's easy to wrap it around. That way it's securing all sides except for the open part of the fracture. You'll notice I'm wearing gloves. That is because if this was an open fracture, I would want to make sure that there was not any contamination. Now, when you're securing your splint, you need to make sure that you're not securing it directly on the fracture. You want to do it both above and below. So for this video, I'm going to secure it both at the wrist and up here at the elbow. And I'm not going to tie the knot directly on the skin. Instead, I'm going to wrap it around and tie the knot underneath. Now, I'm using strips cut up from an old pillowcase, but you can use anything. You can use a swathe, a triangular bandage, or anything like that. Is that too tight? You want to make sure that it's not cutting off circulation, but it also needs to be secure enough that it's actually holding the splint in place so that when he releases his hand, the splint doesn't fall off or loose. Again, you want to secure it both above and below the fracture. So I'm doing a second swathe above the fracture at the elbow. I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times just to really make sure that the splint doesn't move. And then I'm going to tie it off. To activate the EMS system, you would either need to call 911, or if it's not an immediate emergency, once you have attached your splint, then you can take them directly to the emergency room and then let the doctors handle it from there. Again, because you are the first aid patient, you are the one handling the patient, you would need someone else to call, or you could put them on speakerphone and talk to them while you are giving first aid to the patient. After you've applied your splint, you need to use a sling to secure it to the body. So, for this video, I'm going to use a scarf to attach the sling. I've already tied a knot directly in the middle. This is to kind of hook it behind the elbow to hold it in place. So I'm going to put the knot right at the elbow. And then the part of the sling that goes under the arm is going to go up over the opposite shoulder of the arm that has not been injured. And then this part is going to hold it to his body, right where it would be. Make sure that the only part that's sticking out are the fingers. And then you're going to tie it up here, behind the neck. And again, you want to make sure it's not too tight, but you want to make sure it's secure enough that there's no pressure on the arm. It's completely held by the sling. Is that good?
Yeah.
Alright, the final step to this process is to use a swathe to secure the sling to the body so that it's not moving around and possibly making the fracture worse. So I'm going to use another scarf to do this. I'm going to go over, but I'm making sure not to do it on the arm that is fractured. I'm doing it above. And I'm going to go under this arm, that way they can still use it if they need to. And we're going to tie it on the opposite side of the fracture, which is behind his back. Again, make sure it's not too tight. It does need to be stable. There we go. Is that good?
Yeah.
There we go. And that is how you apply a splint. You use a sling to secure it to the body, and then use a swathe to secure the sling close to the body to make sure that your patient's fracture to the forearm is stabilized. This is important because if you stabilize a fracture, it prevents it from getting worse. It can prevent it from further damaging the skin and the muscle around it. It can also make sure that it relieves pain because they're holding it against their body and it's right there next to their heart rather than hanging down where all the blood is flowing down into the fracture because that is really painful. Hope y'all enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something.